जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रित्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः. My dear devotees, today is a blessed day. Why? Because today is a Swami Niranjanananda Maharaj Jayanti. It's a birthday celebration of Swami Niranjanananda Maharaj. Who is Swami Niranjanananda Maharaj? He is a direct disciple, monastic disciple of Sri Ramakrishna. And he was known as Ishvara Koti Nitya Siddha. Among the monastic disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, the 16 monastic disciples, there are 5 people who were called Ishvara Kotis. What is this Ishvara Koti it is called? They are Nitya Siddhas, means they are ever perfect. When we are born out of our previous actions results, that is we say prarabdha karma, we take birth and we have not attained the perfection. We are in the process of attaining the perfection. Either you say God realization or you say self-realization. Whereas these are the people, one of them is Swami Niranjanananda, where he has already attained the perfection and is ever perfect. But still he descends on this earth. He takes birth on this earth. Why? Because to help the God in his divine sport, Leela. You can imagine how blessed people these are. We are out of helplessness, we take birth and we enjoy our virtues, actions, results of good actions, and we struggle and we suffer because of our results of bad actions. But these people, they don't have anything that. They are ever perfect and they have nothing to attain. They have nothing to gain and they have nothing to achieve. But still, just out of compassion for the humanity and as a helping person for God himself, for incarnations himself, these people take birth. And among such a great ones, Swami Niranjanananda is also one among them. That is what? Ishvara Koti. One of the apostles of Sri Ramakrishna is known as Swami Adbhutananda. He was a illiterate person, completely illiterate. Even he was unable to read, write, anything. Such a person, he had seen his own eyes. He shares his memories in the later days. How Swami Niranjanananda was a spiritual personality. He says, once, Sri Ramakrishna, when he's in his ecstatic mood, he had a divine touch. He touched Niranjan. His pre-monastic name is Niranjan. So he says, just Sri Ramakrishna touched him, and for 3 days and 3 nights, Niranjanananda, as a young chap at the age of 18 or 19, as a youth, he never slept and his mind was so gone to a very high level and he was in God intoxicated mood. This shows that how spiritually elevated Swami Niranjanananda even during his youth. Such a spiritual personality he was. And there a sect was in India, spiritualists. They were using different techniques to control the spirits and to acquire psychic powers and use them to enjoy, use them to get more and more name, fame, power, position, or to cure some people's disease. All these things they used to do. And his own nephew, Niranjan's nephew, Dr. Mitra, he himself was person who was practicing the spiritualist movement. And when he saw the young Niranjan, who is such a guileless nature, is a embodiment of purity, he can be one of the best medium to attract the spirits. And he used to use Niranjan as a medium to attract the spirits. And they used to do, and Niranjan also felt happy about it because he didn't know the pros and cons. And once a person, very rich person, is probably lakhs of rupees, crores of rupees he has got. He's a millionaire basically. And he was struggling from insomnia for 18 years. So he begged, he requested, he heard about Niranjan, he begged for him, please, from your power, please cure my disease. Niranjan was compassionate enough. From his psychic powers or whatever the powers he had, from that he did try to cure the disease of that rich person where he was suffering from 18 years. He the rich person got rid of the disease probably, but this created a great impression in the young Niranjan's mind. Niranjan started thinking, this is a very rich person. He is a millionaire. He has got power, position, wealth, everything. But because of disease, he had a terrible suffering. Then what is the use of all these material accomplishments? It is a waste. Then better I should turn myself. I should have a U-turn and I should go towards, or I should move towards God. See, this is the great difference between a common person and these saints. If we common people had this great power, psychic power or occult power, if I'm able to cure some person disease, I feel so proud of it. Probably I advertise it and I make a lot of money. I'll become a celebrity, so on and so forth. But young Niranjan started thinking, then what is the use of these material accomplishments? It is better to turn myself towards God. And during this time, at this critical juncture in his life journey, he heard about the great personality, the great spiritual towering personality, saint, prophet, incarnation, none other than Sri Ramakrishna. So he came with a group of spiritualists to Sri Ramakrishna at the age of 18 or 18. So Sri Ramakrishna had been to a garden house next to Dakshineshwar temple complex, that is Yadu Mallik's garden house. He came back. And when he saw Niranjan, he understood how guileless nature is and is a very pure person. Then Niranjan introduced himself to Sri Ramakrishna, and his uncle, Dr. Mitra, also introduced himself, and all other spiritualist people they did introduce. And they asked, or they said, look, Thakur, our master, our person, mister, we are all from spiritualist congregation we are coming. We have got a techniques where we can control the people's mind and we can invite spirits, and we have got psychic powers. Maybe some of us may have got some occult powers, and we want to experiment on you. Will you allow for us? They all felt that because Sri Ramakrishna is a great spiritual towering personality, if we can have a control over him and we can use that medium and we can invite some spirits and we can have more occult powers or psychic powers. They all felt that and they want to try. Sri Ramakrishna, is a child nature person, with all laughing, he wanted to have a fun. He said, yes, my dear, you can have it. And they instructed for Sri Ramakrishna to sit in a particular fashion. Sri Ramakrishna sat simply with smiling face. And Niranjan, his uncle Dr. Mitra, and his fellow friends, all of them, youngsters or elders and all, they all tried their some techniques for 1 hour on Sri Ramakrishna. But after even 1 hour, they couldn't control, or they never had any control over Sri Ramakrishna's mind. So at the frag end of after an hour, his Dr. Mitra said, Master, you are a very strong-minded personality. We are unable to control your mind. We are unable to have a control over his mind. Sorry, we can't do anything. Sri Ramakrishna laughed at it. But finally, he gave an advice to Niranjan, young Niranjan. Look, if you keep on thinking, keep on meditating on the ghost you will become a ghost. At the same time, if you are thinking about God, if you are meditating on the God, you will become God and you will become divine. So now it is up to you you have to decide what you want, whether you would like to become a ghost or you would like to become divine personality. So this was a great revealing factor for Niranjan. Then he said, yes, I want to become divine. I don't want to be a ghost. I don't want to be a spirit worshipping person. Rather, I want to be a divine person. I want to go further or advance in spiritual life. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, then stop all these bad practices. Inviting spirit and allowing you as a medium to invite the spirits and have the control over the spirits, dead people or having occult power, psychic powers, all these things are not good for spiritual life or human life. So that gave a strong blow, or rather it was a great revelation for Niranjan. From then onwards, he severed all his connections with the spiritualists. He stopped, and rather he started continuing with to come to near Sri Ramakrishna. We can understand here what a great person Swami Niranjanananda. From his young days itself, he had a control over his mind. He could control others' mind. He had some psychic powers, extraordinary powers. But as Sri Ramakrishna said, in a spur of moment, he changed his mind and he started walking in spiritual path. And after a few months probably, Niranjan had come to Dakshineshwar. Sri Ramakrishna tested him and he asked to stretch his tongue and he wrote some mantra. Sri Ramakrishna wrote his mantra, means that is the way he initiated his disciple Swami Niranjanananda as a Niranjan. And he said, well, as soon as he returned that mantra, his mind, Niranjan's mind again, it went to his high state of mind where he was able to see, as he himself said, fire flames. He was able to see the fire flames here and wherever he sits in the entire room. His mind was in very high state. And whatever the deity's name, mantra he has got, he was able to see the God as a living form, not just an imagination. Not just we sit and we imagine Ganesha, we imagine Jesus Christ, we imagine Ramakrishna, we imagine Durga. So a form can come to our mind. But in his case, it was not an imagination. Rather, he was able to see the God in a luminous form, in a living form. And the mantra was go on repeating. He is unable to sleep. Whether he sits, whether he stands, whether he sleeps, or whether he does any work, and the mantra is continuously getting lingered in the mind. After 3 days, Niranjan started feeling, what has happened to me? Probably he got fear and he came running to Dakshineshwar to Sri Ramakrishna said, look, what has happened? What did you do to me? This is what happening. Then Sri Ramakrishna said, this is called Ajapa Japa. Ajapa Japa means there is no stop in Japam. When we try to remember God, we are able to remember. Sometimes we can't even. But the Ajapa Japa, by continuous sadhana, when we get the Japa Siddhi, what happens? Then whether we sleep, we eat, we drink, or we do whatever activities, mundane activities or spiritual activities, the Japam will be continuously going in our mind. Just like there is a continuous flow of water. So similarly, there will be continuous repetition will be going on in your mind. You may be sleeping, but still one part of your mind will be repeating. That is very high state, the end of the Japa Siddhi. So that he got Swami Niranjanananda as a young person. But since he had a fear, Sri Ramakrishna, he withdrew this power, and he said, in due course of time, everything becomes all right. And once this young Niranjan was coming to Dakshineshwar in a boat. Some people who are not aware of this Sri Ramakrishna's great spiritual power and personality, they were telling that, oh, he's a madcap, he behaves very weirdly, and he's also misguiding the youngsters, and is asking them to renounce the home and earth, and they should become monks. All the stupid things that he is telling like that. Some people were criticizing. Niranjan, being a disciple, ardent disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, he felt very bad. Then he said, look, probably you are misinformed about Sri Ramakrishna. And I know him very well. And Sri Ramakrishna is not like this. So please, for God's sake, stop these accusations on Sri Ramakrishna. He is not such type of personality. But these people, they didn't care. Oh, as a young chap, something is telling, why should we bother? And they continued criticizing Sri Ramakrishna. He got furiated. He was truthful. He was pure. He was simple. But at the same time, he was little, maybe short-tempered, you can say. And he got furious. He got angry. He went, and he was also well-built personality. He was a very tall figure and well-built personality. He went to the end of one end of the boat, and he said, look, either you stop criticizing my Guru Sri Ramakrishna, or otherwise I will imbalance the boat in such a way that all of us will fall in the water, Ganges river, and we may have to die. And he was a well-built personality, when with anger and emphatically he's telling, the people got fear. And because to save their lives, though they were not interested and they didn't want to hear to Niranjan, but still because to save their lives, they kept quiet and they shut their mouths. Then Niranjan kept calmly, and the boat reached Dakshineshwar Ghat. Then Niranjan came and he told his master, his Guru, Sri Ramakrishna. He narrated the whole incident. Niranjan was thinking that probably Sri Ramakrishna will appreciate me because I have showed my devotion to him and I have stopped the people criticizing on Sri Ramakrishna. But for the contrary, Sri Ramakrishna said, what did you do? You did a mistake. If these people criticize me, what will happen to me? They are ignorant people. If you are done by mistake, if you are done the accident, then I would have got more bad name. Whatever you have done, it is not right and you should not do it. He scolded. And he tried to be submissive, and he wanted to control his little anger. And the same incident happened with his one of his other disciple called Yogananji. He was very soft. The similar incident reoccurred at some point of time. Yogananji felt, as a yogin, young yogin, oh, these people, they don't know who is Sri Ramakrishna. They are ignorant people. They keep on saying this. We should not bother. And he came and narrated the whole incident to Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna rebuked him. What? When you were hearing all this, my criticism, Guru's criticism, you kept quiet, even without giving any answer, without giving explanation. What type of person you are? Either you should have given the retarding reply, or you should have left the place. You cannot listen to Guru Ninda. The same incident in the both cases, but Sri Ramakrishna's reactions were entirely different. Why? One is too soft, he wanted to make strong. The other is too strong and too reactive, he wanted to control. So that is the reason Guru teaches every individual as his personality. So that's what we can see in very clearly in the life of these people. And slowly, Niranjan coming to Sri Ramakrishna, he was attracted more and more, and he was moved by Sri Ramakrishna's infinite and universal love. Once, Master, that is Sri Ramakrishna, asked Niranjan, please tell me how you feel about me. Niranjan says, young Niranjan, maybe at the age of 20 or 21, formerly, sir, I loved you, no doubt, but now it is impossible for me to live without you. So much love and affection and respect towards his Guru, because of his Sri Ramakrishna's master's universal love, unconditional love, and it is a pure love. So this we can feel, most of us, when our mind is getting agitated, when our mind is feeling some problem, when our mind has got some danger, feeling of sense of danger and all these things. Who is there for me to support? Who is there to protect such type of emotional upheavals it comes in our mind, then we can remember this incident and we can think, oh, our master is there, Sri Ramakrishna. He is such unselfish, is the embodiment of unselfish love. He is the embodiment of pure love. He loves his disciples. So I am being his disciple. Let me take the shelter at his holy feet so that he will protect me definitely. With that great sincerity, dedication, with pure love, if we can pray, definitely he will take care of us at any point of time. Only we should have that love, sincere devotion, unfailing devotion towards him. That's what we can learn by Swami Niranjanananda's life. And after Sri Ramakrishna's passing away, in no time when Bharanagar monastery started, Niranjanananda also came and he took sannyas, monastic vows, and he became Niranjanananda. Swami Vivekananda gave him the name Swami Niranjanananda. So Niranjan became Swami Niranjanananda. And he was well-built personality, was tall figure as already said. So he used to do most of the laborious work in the monastery. Maybe cleaning or repairing some building if need be, or drawing the water from the river Ganges. All hard work, whatever hard work is there, most of the hard work he used to do in the ashram, in the monastery, and cleaning vessels and helping in probably worship, Sri Ramakrishna's worship. All most of the physical work and hard work he used to do. But he never used to bother for anything else. Only with all love and affection he used to do. And the one more thing is, Niranjanji used to love Holy Mother also so much. He used to love and he used to respect Holy Mother very much. And Niranjanji, as a itinerant monk, he went to different places. Puri he went probably, and Allahabad, then Haridwar and all these things. Slowly he came south and he went to Sri Lanka. In the Sri Lanka, he did teach Vedanta. Indian philosophy you can say, Hinduism you can say, and also Vedantic philosophy especially. He taught Vedantic philosophy in Sri Lanka. That is one very interesting point. And one of his teachings for all of us, very important, he said, Sri Ramakrishna was the infinite God incarnated in the human form. And he who took refuge in him would not have to worry in his life. We have got a lot of us, most of us, we have got worries. We have got problems in the life. We have got challenges. We have got adverse circumstances. We have got apprehensions, isn't it? How to face all this? One is like Swami Vivekananda said, face the brutes. We have to face them and we have to keep on going. But sometimes we feel we need some support. What is that support? Sri Ramakrishna is the best support. Here himself is telling Niranjanji, whoever takes refuge in Sri Ramakrishna, they need not to worry in their life. If we can have that faith, Shraddha in Sri Ramakrishna, definitely that will be materialized. And he had similar faith also in the Holy Mother Holy Mother Sharda Devi. Then, and also is one of his teachings is also, he used to serve Master how? He used to do all the work how? He used to do work as a worship. Work as a worship we have heard and we can see very clearly in the Swami Niranjanji's life. He used to work how? Thinking of Sri Ramakrishna as a living, conscious being, our very own, he used to do all the work. So whatever the work he is doing, it as a humble offering towards his chosen deity or his guru, that is Sri Ramakrishna. And for him, for every work, either cleaning, sweeping, mopping, and doing any mundane work as so called secular work, everything was a highest worship towards the God or towards his guru. And at the same time, he was very strong personality and he was fearless, completely was fearless. But at the same time, he had so much loving personality and he had taken refuge in Sri Ramakrishna completely. And he is one of the person initially who was impressed and who also supported Swami Vivekananda's concept of service. In Hindu monasteries, concept of service was not there before. before Sri Ramakrishna's advent or Swami Vivekananda starting Ramakrishna mission. Now, mostly you see every Hindu organization, more or less, they are doing the service. How did it started? It started by Swami Vivekananda with the Sri Ramakrishna's teaching. And Swami Niranjanananda is one of the person who got impressed by this and who understood the efficacy and importance of it, and he advocated the concept of service. And towards his end, because he had practiced lot of austerities, because of that last of austerities, he had a fragile health at the older age or at the later age. So slowly he was becoming weak. But though his body was becoming weak, but he never bothered. His renunciation, devotion, steadfastness in devotion and in meditation, nothing wavered. And finally, in his last days, he went to Haridwar. And in Haridwar, he was performing sadhana. And he was chronic dysentery. Dysentery had attacked. And that it shook his body and it made so weak. If any one of us, probably if same thing would have happened, we would have fainted, we would have kept quiet, we would have sleeping all the time, or we would have lamenting about our own state or cursing God, etc., etc. But in Niranjanananda's case, nothing happened. He was happy. He was peaceful. He was contented. Whatever it was coming, he had very clearly that it is to his body, it is not to him. And I am that Atman. We all keep hearing in this my Tattvabodha class, Aprokshanubhuti class, or in Vedantic class. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the emotions. I am that Atman. So this we can see clearly in Swami Niranjananda's case as an experience. For us, this is a theory. It is a knowledge, but for him, it was an experience. It is a matter of fact. So since because of chronic dysentery, his body had become very weak and fragile, but his mind was alert. He was able to meditate, and there was no problem mentally in him, or he was not even emotionally weak. This we should learn how a spiritual person will be. And he kept on continuing. At that juncture, an attendant came to serve him. We would have felt very happy about it, but Niranji was reluctant to accept any service. But the attendant insisted again and again to serve. Then finally he scolded that you don't want me to die even in peacefully during death. So this hurted that attendant. Attendant understood, okay, Niranjanji doesn't want to accept any service, and he left. Niranjanji taking Sri Ramakrishna's name, and he was near the bank of Ganges, holy river for all of us. So there in the samadhi, in that great high state of mind, he left his mortal coil on the 9th May in 1904. In the samadhi, Swami Niranjananji left his mortal coil. So here we can understand very clearly how a spiritual towering personality will be, and how a spiritual person will ever care for name, fame, power, position, even including for his own body. He will lead the life of dedication, life of devotion, life of steadfast devotion, life of peace. All these things we can see in the life of Swami Niranjanananda. So this should be probably for us a guideline and a point of inspiration, a point of motivation for all of us, how we can live happy life, how we can live peaceful life, and how can we live blissful life and spiritual life. All these things can be the Swami Niranjananda's life as a torchbearer on all these points. So let us try to read his life in the beautiful book God Lived With Them. Let us try to draw more and more inspiration, motivation for us, so that we can transform ourselves in a better way. May Sri Ramakrishna and Swami Niranjanananda bless all of us. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu. And dear devotees, we are having tomorrow 5:30 to 6:30 a special session by Swami Chidananda Puri, who has come from India, that is southern part of India, Kerala. The subject will be how to practice Vedanta in our day-to-day life. So it's an interesting topic and is a scholar also. I request all the devotees to come personally in the Nivedita house. If not, then you can also in the YouTube, you can also participate in this lecture. Thank you.